Hello Stampers, Michelle Zindorf here, and I have a lovely little card for you today. And I'm featuring the Magnolia Mood stamp set for this card. And isn't this a beautiful image? This is just one of the images in the stamp set. And here's the stamp set right here. Now this is an exclusive with Stampin' Up. It's an online exclusive. It's not in the catalogs, but I will have a link to it below so you can get it, pick it up. Here's the stamp set, and then there's a coordinating die set that you can pick up too. It's the Magnolia Mood die set. And it has dies that, of course, cut out the main images here. But then it has some additional dies too that are standalone. Very nice. So look for that. If you buy the bundle, you save 10%. So we're going to be using this large flower here. I just love this image. So we're going to be using that. And I want to show you a card that I did last week. And here it is. And this card is one of my exclusive tutorials for customers this month. So I always do 4 exclusive tutorials that I give anybody who places an order with me. So just keep that in mind. If you want to place an order with me, you're going to get those 4 tutorials absolutely free. And they're exclusive to my customers. That was using that same stamp set. Boy, look how different those are. And this one has a different background, of course, and colored differently. And it's amazing how just coloring it different colors makes such a big difference. But we're going to be doing this card today, and you get a little sneak peek of one of the embossing folders here that's in the background. I'll show you that embossing folder. Look how large this embossing folder is. It's huge. So compared to a card, this embossing folder will just... it blows my mind how large it is. But I can just see doing a lot of things scrapbook-wise that you could use this embossing folder for. But that's will be in our new catalog that's coming out next month. In May, you'll be able to pick that up, and it's a So Swirly embossing folder. So I've used it back here for my celestial touch on this card. Hope it shows well on the video. So let's get going. We're going to start first by creating our moon. And I have a circle here that is 3 inches, and I die cut it using the dies in the Stylish Shapes set. And this puts like this little stitched edge around when you die cut it. And I just die cut this out of basic white using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I die cut it using the largest circle in that Stylish Shapes dies set. So that was the largest one. And then I'm going to take this, let's see, the third to the largest. So I'm going to do 2 steps down. And this is what I'm going to use to create my moon. I'm just going to go ahead and die cut this out of this piece here. I'm just going to bring this die over to the edge so it makes a complete crescent moon. So I'm going to run this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I ran that through, and that cut my circle out of here. So I have my moon shape, my crescent moon. Is that pretty? And when you use this die with the stitched edge, it puts the stitching on the inside of the moon too, which is really cute. So now I just want a little color on it. And I'm going to start out with a Lemon Lolly. This is a bright yellow. I'm just going to lightly put some on here around the edge with a blending brush. And I'm not putting a whole lot because I don't want it to be like in your face yellow. So I just lightly put some on around there. And then I'm going to bring in some smoky slate, and that's going to like give you that like moon texture like. So I'm going to take a blending brush with that too. And I'm just lightly adding some spots here and there on this. This kind of tones that moon down a bit. like we're adding craters or whatever. So there is our moon. So that's done, and we're going to set that aside. Okay, so now let's start on our background. We have a panel here that's 3 3/4 by 4.5. Now you can find all the dimensions for this card down below this video. Just click more and you'll see them down there along with all the links to the products. That'll take you directly to my online store where you can shop with me 24/7. Now we're starting with that basic white panel. And I'm going to start with that smoky slate in my blending brush. And for this background, you're going to want to use the tip of your brush, and we're lightly just going to make like little swirls in the middle of our panel here. And this is going to give us that little atmospheric look that we want instead of a solid. So there's our gray. That's all the more we want on it. I like having some of that white cardstock show through. Okay, our next color is going to be Lost Lagoon. So I have my Lost Lagoon here, and I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to use the tip of my brush for this, and I'm going to do that same kind of swirls with the tip of my brush. And I'm leaving some white areas if I can, and those will kind of show up as, you know, clouds or stars or whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to just a little bit into this gray. And although I'm going to come in with a darker color, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down to the bottom and all the way to the top. Again, leaving some white areas. So that was Lost Lagoon. Next, I'm going to bring in some Pretty Peacock. And I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to use the end of my brush here. And I'm going to try not to fill in cover all of my Lost Lagoon up. Now I'm going to put this at the bottom too. I think I kind of like that. I had ink on my finger here. I'm just going to darken that spot there and here. There we go. And there's our background for our sky. I am going to get darker yet. Then I'm going to go to Night of Navy. So this is much darker. I'm going to add some up here at the top. And down here at the bottom. When you're doing that little swirl, you can still see those colors underneath it, some in places. Okay, so there's our crazy sky. How about that? I think that's really neat. And I'm going to add my moon on. I'm just going to use some multi-purpose glue here. You can use whatever adhesive you like. I'm just putting it all over, and I'm making sure I get some on those tips there. And then I'm not going to put it just straight so that my points come straight out. I'm going to tip it just a tiny bit and add it here towards the top of my cardstock. So there's my moon on there. So now I'm all ready to emboss this panel. So I'm going to bring back out that sneak peek embossing folder, that So Swirly embossing folder, and I'm going to use that. When I put this in my embossing folder, I want to make sure that I have it facing up towards that Stampin' Up! Logo that's on the front of the card. And that way I know that my swirls are going right. And you can, I'm moving it around, I can see where the swirls are actually going to be. And I wanted a bunch that were coming like right in the middle of that. So I'm going to run this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'll be right back. So now I have that all embossed. And look how pretty that background is with that embossing folder on there. It just gives it just another layer there. So make sure you pick this embossing folder up. I'm going to tell you what the number is so you can write it down for next month when this becomes available. It is 163791 is the order number. That's done. So we have that part done. Now we need our flower. And I just have a scrap of basic white here. I'm going to stamp this big bold flower. Again, this is from the Magnolia Mood stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it with a Memento Tuxedo Black. When I have these big images, I like to just put my ink pad into them instead of the other way around. That way I know I've got it all covered. And it doesn't matter how you stamp it on this panel here. That's that image. Okay, I'm going to stamp it one more time, and when I stamp it on this, I'm going to stamp it on this just because I want the stem of the two small flowers. They're going to be covered, the flower part's going to be covered up. But I don't want to have to cut those stems out. So I'm stamping it again where I want my flower at when I finish this project. So there's that. And then we have our stem there. I know right where it's going to be. And if it's broken up because of the embossing, I'm going to show you. You just need to just grab a black marker here and you can color that stem in. Make it solid. There we go. Okay, so now we've got that done and we're ready for this. We're going to do our coloring now. I'm going to bring in some Stampin' Blend markers here. And let's start with the flower. And I'm going to start with my lightest color that I have here and do the stamens. And that is the Dark Lemon Lolly. So I'm going to add that to the stamens in the center of the flower. And next I'm going to bring in the light Calypso Coral. And this poor marker, I had it out for a class, and it got beat up pretty bad. My brush end's kind of smushy, but I'm going to use it anyway, and I'm going to color in all of the petals for this flower. I'm not going to worry if I go outside the edge because I'm going to be cutting this image out. If you're going to die cut this image out, you're going to want to be careful with going outside the edge of your petals. Yep, it's time for me to replace this. Just remember when you get these, don't actually use the point of the brush, else it'll get smushed up like this. I must have to do a little better teaching in my class for them not to get smushed. But anyhow, I love all my customers. There's that. Okay, we got all the petals colored. Now, let's add some of the dark Calypso Coral. Gotta use the small end, and I'm just going to flick up on each petal, at the bottom of each petal here. Get that color in there. So you get that two-tone look there. I'm making sure I'm not going all the way to the top. I'm going about a little over halfway on the petals. And I'm going to color in that little space right there. There's a little space in between the leaf and this petal up here. And since I'm going to be cutting that out, I don't want to have to cut that little space out, so I'm putting some color in there. All right, maybe the bottom of this one a little bit. That petal there. And I like that. There we go. So those are those two colors. Now I wanted to bring some pink in here. And so I decided to bring in the light melon mambo. And I'm just going to add just a little bit, like half of that area that we did the dark Calypso Coral. I'm going to go over just half, the bottom half of it with that pink, just to draw in just that color. I don't know, I love that hot pink with Calypso Coral. I think it's really pretty in flowers. And when you're looking at it later, you're not going to say, oh, there's hot pink in there, but it is really pretty together. Add some here. Maybe just a little bit at the very end of that little bud there. So there's our flower all colored in. So I'm going to take the light Lost Lagoon and I'm going to color our leaves in with this. Just going over the entire leaf. And a pretty combination. So many different ways you can color this image. And I love that it's an open image. So many flowers now you can't do all this coloring to. And I just like to color, I guess. This is the dark Calypso Coral. And I'm going to add some of this to the leaves. Especially the tips here. And I'm just adding it here and there on these leaves, making them multicolored. Add some right there and then some here on the tip. And there's our coloring all done. So I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to cut this out. Now you can either die cut this out or just fussy cut it. I'm a fussy cutter, even though I have the dies. I want it to look like it's part of this whole scene instead of laying on top. So I'm fussy cutting this out. Doesn't take that long. And I'm going to cut these flowers out separately. I'm going to cut the large flower out. And when I get to that stem, I'm just going to cut right through it. That's why I stamped it on the main panel there. And then I'll just cut this out. But I'm going to do all this cutting, and I'm sure you don't want to sit and watch me do that. So I'm going to cut this out, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I have my images cut out. I have my main flower here and the leaves around it. And then I have this bud and this little bud. I didn't worry about the stem because we have that stamped on our main panel here. So those are done. And then I have just a couple more things here. I have wanted some additional foliage. So I punched using the bow punch. This is the bow punch. I label all my punches, but bow punch. And it punches out these two images. I want two of these large ones, and I cut them out of Lost Lagoon cardstock. So I have two here. I just want to add some color to them. So I'm just grabbing my light Lost Lagoon, and I'm just going to color the stem in with that on both of these. There we go. And then I want to add some color to the leaves too, just the bottom of the leaves. So I'm just going to take my marker and not use the smushy end. Really got to replace that. I'm just going to add some of this color to the bottom of each of these leaves, just to make it two-toned and kind of fit in with our color scheme we have here. So there's one, and then we'll add some to the next one. You can use this these punches either colored or not. I've used them quite a few times, just cutting them out of like mossy meadow or old olive. But I kind of like them colored. Okay, since we have this image here, I know exactly where to put these on to where I want them. So I want them peeking out from behind this flower. So I know to put my stem over the flower there. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue here. Just going to add a dot to each petal there, and then some down the stem. And I think I want it sticking up, kind of coming over the moon just a bit there. Before I put that second leaf on, I want to make sure that I have enough room and where to put it at. So I'm going to go ahead and put my main panel on top of a Night of Navy panel. And the Night of Navy panel is 4 by 5 1/4. Just going to kind of center it up here on here. There we go. And then I'm going to add this next leaf here. And this way I can take this leaf clear to the edge of that Night of Navy panel. And no, I'm not going off of it. So there's that. Really cute, right? So now I'm just going to add this to my card front. Now I have a Calypso Coral card base here. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I'm just going to center this up on that. Because my big flower, I'm going to bring clear onto this whole card here. There we go. So this one I put it on, I just want to make sure I cover up my image down below. Going to glue that on. All right. Line this up here. And it's going to go off the cardstock a bit, but that's fine. I'm going to let that glue dry a little bit on there because I have it out to the tips here, and then I'm going to cut this off when I get to the end. Okay, so I have those. Now I need my little buds on here. Having so much fun with this stamp set. I'm not usually a big flower person, but so I'm just going to turn this over and see where it sticks out. I'm just going to nip those off. And there we have our card front. Isn't that pretty? Now I want a little bling on here, so I'm going to bring in some the rhinestones, basic jewels. I have a pack here that's about used up. I might as well continue using it. I'm just going to use my scissors points here. I grab one of these big ones. And I'm just going to put some of these on sporadically here and there. I think I'll use like 5 of them. Just going to scatter them for stars. So there is our stars in our sky with our rhinestones, a little bling. And now for the inside of our card, I just wanted to add some panels. Now this would be the time that you could stamp this Lost Lagoon panel. This panel is 3 3/4 by 5. If you're going to do some stamping, you could do it before you put it in your card, and that way if you feel like you're going to mess up, you can just flip it over if you need a second chance at that. Sometimes I stamp crookedly. But I'm just going to add mine in. I'm not sure what I'm going to put on this card yet because, you know, this could be birthday or thinking of you or all kinds of different occasions. And I'm adding this to a Night of Navy panel that's 4 by 5 1/4. Then I'm going to add this on the inside of my card. Let's add some love in there. There we go. And I add those panels on the inside of my card just to keep the weight right with my cards. I don't want a really heavy card front and then have a flimsy back to my card. So there you have that. And look at that, we're finished. Turned out really nice. Here's my original. I hope you enjoyed this project and that you give it a try. Thanks for joining me today. Take care. Toodles.